Hey guys, can you guys hear me okay? We have AJ and Ken who will be shoutcasting for us, and we're gonna pull them on the screen and we'll get into the first battle shortly. Thanks for tuning in.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another Sinister Cup. Super hyped to be enjoying some more Sinister battles with you, AJ. Really,
Yeah,
really ready to get this going.
this is gonna be fun. Sinister has been just an interesting meta. Normally, you get the metas in the later parts of the month. They tend to evolve a little bit and they solidify. And so it's interesting to see how these team comps change from our winners and our top players.
Yeah, and
But
this
because it's so early in the season, you don't really know who's established as that sort of high ranking player. These rivals might just be rivals because, they happen to have won a weighted cup already, right?
mhm, absolutely. Yeah, and Sinister's been really, really interesting just as far as differing move sets and viable Pokemon. So it should be fun to see what these players have brought now that it's late in the season. They've had lots of time to practice.
So the
Perfect.
screens you're seeing on the left and right are our first round pairings. It's going to be Palm and Charlie. On Charlie's name is actually different than his self tag. I think it's
Hmm.
actually ZC Angel.
Hmm.
You can pull up the bracket if you do exclamation point tournament, and then you can see the bracket live as it stands right now.
So yeah, let's take a look at those teams, AJ. I know I've already pulled up Palm's team, and he's rolling with a lot of the standard Sinister players. He's got an Alolan Marowak, a Steelix, a Poliwrath, and a Metacham. But he's also brought a little bit of spicy. He's got a Claydol in there taking up the psychic spot, and then he's also got a Banette, which should be really interesting to see if he's found himself one of those coveted return Banettes. We saw those one of those in action a lot yesterday on the London Finest stream. I'm excited to see it again. It looked really good.
Hmm. Yeah, Banette's been quite a popular choice right now. It's high risk, high reward kind of thing. As you saw yesterday, not shielding a return can be a game changing decision. But
Absolutely.
the flip side of that is taking a shadow ball to the face. We were just kind of joking off stream earlier. What about someone who wasn't running return on their Banette? It's really just Thunder and Dazzling
Mhm.
Gleam. Those don't really give you much in this meta, but
Yeah,
return gives you that powerful bait, and then of course Shadow Ball, just nuke stuff, right?
absolutely.
Charlie is running Cresselia, Haunter, Poliwrath, Alolan Marowak, Dusclops, and Steelix. So a little bit different. He has more of that traditional team comp where
Yep.
where you tend to have some kind of a safe
Yep.
switch to
All right. I
Banette.
think we've got game one on screen.
So flexing that shiny Poliwrath against the Banette, round one starting spicy. We'll see if the Banette tries to switch out or go for that. Oh wow, it looks like it has a Thunder, just like we were talking
Yeah.
about. So
So
if he
he
lands,
hasn't found himself a return Bennett yet, but Thunder is still a hard hitting move that does work in certain matchups, especially this one.
yeah, so he goes straight for the Shadow Ball. Don't imagine he's going to be doing anything other than Shadow Ball in this matchup. Poliwrath going for the Ice Punch. It is favorable against this Banette, and it goes shielded. Obviously, doesn't want to be shielding any kind of Power Up Punch, Dynamic Punch, anything like that.
Mhm.
But this is a non-legacy Poliwrath given away by the Shiny and the Bubble animations coming out.
Mhm.
The Ice Punch is going to come out much faster than those Shadow Balls. So it is putting a little bit more shield pressure on this Banette, which goes down with that second Ice Punch.
Yeah, interesting to see that he sort of gave up on that matchup in the one shield, but
Mm.
lets him bring in this Claydol, which is favorite here. He's gonna have to burn another shield to avoid taking an ice punch.
Yeah, our player here on the right is kind of in an unfavorable position, down a shield, and then really going to have to bank on this Clay Doll having reliable matches. Luckily, though he does have a Steelix and Marowak to go up against. So Marowak really is going to have to be shielding whatever comes out of this
Mhm.
Clay Doll.
Yeah,
And it
and
looks like he's going straight for the
it's
Earth
also a
Power.
Fire Spin Marowak, which is definitely not as good in this matchup.
However, that Fire Spin is going to be able to get to that Shadow Ball, and sure enough,
Mhm.
he charges up to the Shadow Ball, and we'll see if he decides to switch out. Instead, he decides to go straight for the Shadow Ball, take out
Mhm.
this Steelix, or as much as HP as possible before it switches out to its own Steelix. And
I
it
don't think
looks
he's
like
gonna
he's going to
switch. I think
stay.
with the shield, I think he's just absolutely favored here. I expect to see him just ride this Marowak in this matchup. Up a shield, it's pretty much
Well,
GG's
he
at
had
this
to
point.
take that shield from the Clay Doll. So now they're down both
Oh, I
shields.
see.
Yeah, so that we kind of got a little bit of delay there, and we didn't see that. But
Mhm.
this Steelix is now going to be able to farm the enemy Steelix.
Nope.
Since they're both having Dragon Tail, they're not going to be
Yeah.
able to get to that Earthquake. However, now up against Clay Doll, we're in a pretty nice spot, going to be able to get to that Earthquake, doing neutral damage.
Mhm.
And with Stab, even though it's technically doing less DPE against this Clay Doll, it's doing more raw damage, and we're going to be able to
Exactly.
take it out.
And even since that Claydol isn't packing Earthquake of its own, Steelix takes an Ancient Power pretty easily. You really kind of need to get to 2 or need to do some chip damage before that. So
Yeah.
we see game 1 going to Charles here, and we'll see how they adjust for game 2.
Spicy auto wreck team: Raikou, Snorlax, and Shiny Poliwrath.
Ooh, I like that.
I like that.
I always respect the players who have no preset teams because you know that they're auto wrecking. You know that
Yeah.
that's why.
Yeah, for sure. So how do you think they're gonna adjust? You think we're gonna see another Banette lead, confident that it went well in game 1 to have it? Or
I
do you
mean,
think we're going to see both players kind of adjust a
I
little bit?
think the Banette looks pretty good given its sort of generally positive matchups against the other ghosts and the fact that Polly and Crest don't really want to see Banette either. So really, it looks like it's a little bit of a game of like avoid that Steelix. But it looks like we're going to see triple Ghost on Charles' side right now. That's a spicy brew.
Yeah. And he was gonna go for Cresselia. Now Cresselia having not so great of a matchup against Banette, certainly an improvement. However, now a Alolan Marowak being paired against it. The thing
Mhm.
about this matchup is Alolan Marowak, if it can predict a return, it's awesome. But this Banette doesn't have a return.
Right.
So anything that goes unshielded here is going to be trouble for this Marowak.
Right. It's
Luckily,
going
the
to
opponent
absolutely need a bait.
reading the
Just
Shadow Ball.
because the Shadow Claw is such a better move.
Hmm.
You're going to need to find a way to get advantage. And he does get the shield bait here. So this is going to be a little bit of a race to that second Shadow Ball.
Yeah, I think they do get to that Shadow Ball before, since they
Oh, he
do have
burned both
that
the shields
Shadow
here.
Ball. And so the Banette commits to both shields. That, I think that was a bit of a misplay, mainly because he goes for the Thunder.
No,
Oh no, he went for the
yeah, he got
Shadow
the Shadow
Ball.
Ball.
Okay. It looked like he clicked their Thunder there for a second. Going for the Shadow Ball here is going to do a ton of damage, if not one hit knockout. And it does take out that Dusclops in one hit. We just talked about how this Banette
Banette's looking.
has this ability to sweep teams, right?
Yeah. This is looking pretty like it worked out pretty well. That the committing of both of those shields, I think, has started to pay off. The triple Ghost line does not want to just take Shadow Balls once the shields are down.
Yeah. The thing is, this Haunter has a lot of energy, and shields are completely down,
Mm.
but it just doesn't have enough of a punch, believe it or
Mhm.
not, to take out the Steelix in one hit. He does have an extra shield there. He commits to that shield, and now with Metacham there in the back, he's going to be able to nuke it basically in one
Yeah.
hit.
I think he's gonna take it here with that sort of shield and energy advantage on Haunter, which is absolutely lethal. That's where Haunter excels, and we get to see sort of it's a little bit of a risk, but when it pays off, I mean it is brutal. So that's 2 games for Charles. We'll see if they are gonna play their third game, and we'll see maybe get another opportunity to see these Pokemon in action.
Yeah, it was stellar play there. I think, committing to that Banette and not reading the Bone Club there at the beginning of the match was the game deciding.
Absolutely. Well, the first Bone Club, I think you had to shield. That was a proper bait. That second Bone Club actually just came out too fast. And I think it was pretty clear that IAmPonm wasn't necessarily counting those fire spins or isn't familiar with this fire spin energy gain.
Right. And so we are matched, Cresselia versus the Shiny Marowak. Now, the thing about this matchup
Shiny on
is
shiny.
Shiny on shiny. This Shiny Marowak is having Fire Spin as a move. So the thing about the matchup is it has to land a successful bait in order to beat Cresselia. And it looks like Cresselia is committing to the shield. So now it's going to be able to get to that Shadow Ball in time. And it looks like he's committing to a Bone Club again, predicting perhaps that he got to the Shadow Ball in time.
Yeah.
But I don't think this Cresselia is going to shield.
No, Cresselia player is not going to buy that. I'm actually surprised not to see the Future Sight get fired there, just because you kind of want to put some shield pressure on, and I don't know that I like switching into this matchup at an energy disadvantage and a shield disadvantage.
Right. And so Marowak does shield this Crunch. He's got a ton of energy, and he doesn't really want it to go to waste. Steelix foregoing the shield here and going for the Bone Club. Our Steelix user still has a shield, and so does the Alolan Marowak. He's able to pump out those Shadow Balls quite nicely. So he goes for the Shadow Ball and takes out the Steelix. Two decent options against Marowak, a Cresselia with a ton of energy and a Dusclops ready to go. Full HP, no energy. Goes for the Shadow Punch.
Oh, we see another
Alolan Marowak commits the last shield there. I think that's the right move. You really do want to conserve.
Cress looks real good with shields down here.
Yeah. And so him going for the Bone Club here is a death sentence and not getting shielded. If it had been the Shadow Ball, at least you're able to take out the Dusclops. But with Poliwrath in the back and their Steelix, I'm not sure that he has more anything
really
less
need
than
to
an
make
uphill
sure he
battle.
puts a dent in the Steelix with the Dusclops, and you can win this fight with shield advantage. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this Steelix go down. But if he's not careful here, Cresselia has a really, really hard time sort of putting the finishing touches on a Steelix.
Yeah.
But it looks like he's willing to commit that shield. We should be able to see it get knocked down into Aurora Beam range, so they can easily clean up that Poliwrath in the back.
Yeah, IAmPonm just definitely doesn't want to have Cresselia paired up against his own Poliwrath.
Absolutely.
It's just not the matchup that he wants to be in. So getting that Crunch is quite nice. Cresselia is going to have to expend a little bit of energy in order to take out Steelix, but I don't think it's just not going to be enough, you guys, because Aurora Beam is the right moveset to have in this particular situation. Cresselia user being a little bit aggressive there in the farm, and he goes for the
use the. What do you think of that technique, AJ?
It was enough, and it really doesn't matter because he's got Poliwrath there in the back.
Yeah, I don't know that the Future Sight was the right choice there. I think Aurora Beam would have been plenty fine, but he farmed up enough extra energy that it didn't make much of a difference. And we see a 3-0 for Charles in our first round at pairings 1.
Very nicely played by Charles. Very nicely played by Pom. Unfortunately,
ooh, I have a favorite already. I mean, I cannot say enough about somebody who wants to bring Alakazam, Latias, and Hitmonchan. Those are all very spicy picks, and I hope it pans out for him. I see an Aggron
you know what's
that I was not expecting to see today.
About these teams is that once now that we've gotten into season 2, we've been able to see some players really excel with just totally off meta teams. When I see a team like that where it's Alakazam, Hitmonchan, stuff like that, I have like a tremendous amount of respect for it. And I treat it, okay, this might just be a pro that I have to be super careful with. I'm just like racking my brain on the movesets on these. But then on the flip side, sometimes those are players that are just doing this for the first time and they're just figuring it out and just slap a few things together.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the fun of running off-meta teams. You just don't really know what to expect.
Yeah, you never know what to expect. And Alakazam actually, Toshi had talked a little bit about Alakazam having some unique matchups, specifically the Fire Punch. It's Psycho Cut, Fire Punch, Shadow Ball, which gives it sort of an unexpected win over Steelix because you just get to spam Fire Punches.
Right.
And its attack stat just means an Unshielded Shadow Ball from Alakazam is a one hit on basically everything that it can land.
Yeah.
So it's certainly glassy, and does not want to take it doesn't even want to take neutral damage, but in the right matchup, it's remarkably potent.
Oh yeah, not ragging on Alakazam, but when you see teams that are so deviant from the standard, it just kind of gives you that pause. Alakazam, as you say, is just interesting. It is the fastest Shadow Ball charge in the meta. So that is something to consider when it's paired with Psycho Cut.
Absolutely. So you never know. You may be paired up against a player who Alakazam was just one of the things that they had legal, which I don't know. I don't try and read too much in, but the fact that it's a 14-15 Alakazam doesn't exactly read to me like they want to bring an Alakazam. It's just what they had available to them today. Because they should have probably put a level into that before registering it for the tournament. But I still have a favorite. I'm gonna root for Alakazam team no matter what.
Just kind of looking through. Are we, Katie? What team are we going to be? What two players are we going to be watching? So the number one pairing is a Hydro 033 and WTS Moonlight. So I'll look up Moonlight's team.
Yeah, I'll pull up Hydro's team and let's see what we're working with. All right.
So
I've got Hydro up.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Hydro has obviously the usual suspects: Steelix, Poliwrath, Alolan Marowak. But Hydro also has two additional ghosts in the form of Drifblim and Haunter. And then is also running a Gardevoir, which obviously could have either Charm or Confusion, and depending on which one, its matchups sort of vary pretty wildly. So it'll be interesting to see what direction Hydra's chosen to go with Gardevoir.
And we are seeing the round one pairings, Drifblim versus Cresselia. Not a great spot for Cresselia to be in the lead. He goes for the switch to Dusclops. Drifblim has two options here. He can just win this match outright against a Dusclops, just having more favorable moves, more hard-hitting charge moves than what Dusclops has to offer, or can switch to an even more favorable matchup if he has it in his 3. Looks like the Drifblim is committing here. Is going to be able to tank this Shadow Punch. It hurts, but not nearly as much as those Ominous Wind and Shadow Ball spams.
One of the things I've noticed, one of the big things I've noticed is that Drifblim players essentially universally go for Ominous Wind first. And props on Moonlight for sort of recognizing that tendency and just not shielding that first charge move. A Shadow Ball there would have been GG's almost, but Drifblim players are thirsty for that boost, yo.
Yeah, for sure. Having that Drifblim boost is early game with a lot of HP is quite nice. However, in this situation, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. The Dusclops committing to this matchup, shielding the Ominous Wind, and we get the boost.
It's a little late maybe for it to matter, but I think he's even just going to let it go and take the shield advantage, which I think is wise here.
Yeah. So he goes down on the shield, and so the matchup is now Alolan Marowak versus Clops. I'm getting a little bit of lag.
Yeah, it looks like they have a little bit of lag there, but ooh, he gets to that Shadow Punch before Fire Spin can knock him down.
Clops with a decent amount of energy can just chip away, not expecting a shield out of this Alolan Marowak, but of course would have wanted to have a little bit more HP coming into the following matchup. At a shield advantage, Marowak is very devastating. The Shadow Ball is going to hurt. The Marowak with more HP is going to be able to barely survive, and sure does. It's going to be able to get to that Bone Club, and he goes for the Shadow Ball instead to take out our enemy Marowak, and we'll see if he forgoes the shield. He commits to the matchup,
Yeah.
shields the Shadow Ball. Very nice read. 2 Bone Clubs would have been quite devastating here. And so we get to the Cresselia. Unshielded Shadow Ball is going to be pretty rough. But if there's anybody that can shield a Shadow Ball, it is Cresselia. Or tank a Shadow Ball is what I meant.
Find out it's Charm. Charm's gonna be able to do some work here.
Yeah.
This Aurora Beam is gonna smart, but I don't think it's gonna be enough to take down the Gardevoir now.
Yeah. Gardevoir being so glassy, but being so attack weighted, it's able to take the both remaining Pokemon with just Charm, straight up. Very well played.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we saw realistically that match really pivoted on that second shield spent on Dusclops. But one of the things we saw there too is that the Fire Spin Marowak in both of those matchups really, if it were on Hex, probably could have fainted those down and gone into the next matchup with a lot more energy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the trade-offs with Fire Spin. Those Ghost matchups get a little bit hairier when you lose it out. You do better against Steelix, obviously, but I never felt comfortable trading off those Ghost matchups for Steelix, which is a matchup you're really not winning anyway.
Well, you can win with the Fire Spin matchup. You just have to go straight for Bone Club, and I think you have to have a decent stat product on your Marowak.
It's just not. It's not such a slam dunk that I feel like it's worth the sacrifices you make there. But
agreed. Mm-hmm.
We can see another triple Ghost line. This is our set with 2 rounds.
Ghost line.
2 rounds, triple Ghost twice,
with
100% win rate.
Okay, so we are going to be seeing Haunter in the lead against Alolan Marowak. Great spot for Haunter to be in, especially just spamming those Shadow Punches is going to be enough. Shadow Claw charges up so quickly. This is not a great matchup for Haunter to be in, but chip away at that Cresselia and then switch out so that you're not getting chipped away with those confusion.
Absolutely.
Right, so now we can switch on over to Drifblim. Cresselia tanking that Shadow Punch. Cresselia plus the Shadow Claws. So he's going to have to consider how much damage this Aurora Beam really does.
Yeah, it's smarts, but Aurora Beam, even super effective, just not a particularly strong move.
Right. So now Drifblim spamming those Ominous Winds. It's going to be able to get to that Ominous Wind before Cresselia gets to another Aurora Beam. So this is a great matchup for Drifblim to be in. Basically no HP, not farmable for whatever the opponent brings out next.
Right. Yeah, I think there was that shield on Cresselia was not a great call. I think he was hoping he would get to another Aurora Beam, but looks like he just missed. So we get to see that Fire Spin AWAC Steelix matchup that we were just talking about.
So he has, I think it was Poliwrath there. Besides Steelix, he had Poliwrath there in the back.
Yeah.
Now he really wants to commit this Marowak to the. He really wants to commit the Steelix, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's in good shape.
The problem is it is Fire Spin.
Yeah. I don't know what happened here. It felt like he was trying to get tricky with the move.
A lot of aggregate damage. And he's just going straight for the Shadow Ball, which is going to take out that Steelix. And then with Marowak, it was in the back, right? From the initial matchup.
Yeah.
He really is in kind of a tight spot, right? Because he still has Haunter there in the back and a shield. But the Marowak user does commit to the shield there.
Yeah, he's got the Shadow Ball ready to go and knows that it's gonna smart.
This will take out the Shadow Ball with the HP that he has left. Yeah, absolutely. And if not, you just
down he goes. It's 2 wins for Hydra. Taking the match, although I'm sure they'll play their self-mandated third game here. So that's 100% win rate for Triple Ghost so far. All right,
Triple Ghost can be devastating.
Yep. I saw a Metacham locked into the lead spot for Moonlight there, which is going to face a Haunter, which is definitely not where you want to be.
Haunter having very successful leads here. We're expecting an immediate switch from Metacham, and it looks like
it's got Psycho Cut. I think it's got Psycho Cut.
Yeah.
So it's actually like chipping away a little better than usual, but I don't know. I don't know this matchup that well.
So Psycho Cut is doing super effective damage, and it is chipping away, but Psycho Cut is just not a particularly great high damage move. He's missing a ton of bubbles, but it really doesn't matter.
Some really creative techniques for hitting the psychic bubbles so far.
Yeah. So I don't expect Metacham to shield this, even though he was very close to the psychic. Shadow Claw was probably going to be enough to take out this Metacham. Even with that particular moveset, it was probably the most favorable, if not with Ice Punch possibly. It's just not enough to take down the Haunter. It's just extraordinarily hard counter for Metacham. And now we're spawning, we're pit against this Dusclops, which has a ton of energy and no shields.
Yeah,
So
this is part of the problem with Dusclops is it doesn't have a lot of closing power. So like in this scenario where, you know, sure, it has super effective moves against both Drift and Marowak. Hey, there's another boost. Wow.
Oh, man, it paid off. I was thinking that he should have gone for Shadow Ball there just to close out the Dusclops.
Yeah, well,
instead he wanted that boost. So no matter what comes after this, he's in a pretty nice spot.
I'm actually a little surprised not to see him using a shield here. I mean, I guess it doesn't do quite as much damage as it would before the boost, but still, like, you might as well protect the boosted the Drift, but it looks like it's not going to make much of a difference here.
Boosted Shadow Ball to the face on this unshielded Alolan Marowak, and Drifblim has a shield left. That is GG. Very
that Marowak had a
precision
family
play by Hydro.
It had a family. I'm sure. Maybe.
He had a family. Oh man.
Oh. Very well played on Hydro's side there. We saw the triple ghost doing work in 2 games. So yeah, triple ghost is now 3-0 on stream. I'm just saying, it's the meta.
It might just be. Ghost is very powerful here. I mean, there is nothing that resists Ghost, right? And a lot of things take super effective.
Well, we saw yesterday the Nut bringing double Shadow Ballers in a ton, like Shadow Claw, Shadow Ball with the Banette and Haunter lines. And it was absolutely, you know, devastating when it worked, because nothing in this meta wants to take Shadow Balls, aside from maybe a Bastiodon or Girafarig, which aren't really that prominent as you scroll down through the teams. There's there's definitely a lot more Bastiodons than Girafarigs.
That's right. I keep forgetting Girafarig. Girafarig is that one thing that does resist Ghost here.
All right, looks like we've got
comments from chat. Ken, any
not too much yet. I see a couple. I see a couple of our regulars in chat. Good to see y'all. What's up, Shadow Cold? But yeah, we're covering this tournament here in Columbus, Ohio. If you want to take a look at the bracket and the teams, !tournament in the chat will give you a direct link to that visual. You can see sort of what everyone's packing. We're just wrapping up round number 2 right now. But yeah, so far we've seen I think we've seen a lot of Fire Spin Marowak for sure. And a lot of the sort of standard players. I think that one Gardevoir was the closest thing to off meta we've seen on screen so far.
Start my computer here in a second.
No worries, friendo. So we're gonna hold and wait. For those of you in chat, let us know how your tournaments have gone if you've already played them. I know this is the last weekend of the month, so I expect most of you have logged those 10x's. Let us know how you did. We want to hear from you as we wait for our third round of battles to come live. You do. We'll throw the teams up on stream for you as well, so you can see what people are battling with. Some spicy stuff. I see a bunch of Alolan Raichus. I mean, more so than I expected, which brings me joy deep in the pits of my being. You know, I love that little glassy-eyed darling.
Isn't the biggest problem with Alolan Raichu is just taking super effective from Ghost, being totally
Yeah,
basically walled by Steelix, even with Grass Knot. It's just not enough. Doesn't cut
exactly.
it.
I think it says a lot about the positioning of Alolan Raichu that me, the person who loves Alolan Raichu maybe more than anybody, has not brought it once. It just always feels bad. Yeah,
Let's go.
absolutely. We're hyped to see the next round of battles. See this triple ghost showdown. AJ, are you ready?
Yeah, man.
All right,
Are you
so
both doing triple
next
ghost?
round
Triple
is
ghost?
Hydro and Mikeachu.
Perfect. All right, so we're taking a look. As we said, our next round, our top pairing. If you hit exclamation point tournament in the chat, it's Hydro versus Mikeachu. And let's get ready to go.
All right, so it looks like Mikeachu is starting up with Haunter, Steelix, and Dusclops versus a potential Drifblim in the lead.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's Steelix is looking like a real all-star on Mikeachu's side. So will be interesting to see if that is really the Pokemon that takes this one.
Okay, so we are starting this match. Haunter versus a Drifblim in the lead. I gotta be honest, the Zero Energy matchup, I'm pretty sure Haunter is just in a favorable position, just being able to produce more damage faster with that Shadow Claw, Shadow Punch combo. I
Yeah,
don't think it needs to land a bait, right?
no, I don't think so. Shadow Claw is just such a better energy generating move. And it just chunks a little better than Hex. So the Shadow Claw Pokemon, while stat wise aren't always the best, their energy generation and their sort of ability to maybe like farm down the remainder of matchups is frequently a deciding factor for them.
Now, having a boost would have been quite nice.
Yes, that is definitely that will definitely flip this matchup.
Yeah. And the Hunter is foregoing the shield here. Probably the right play. Just because it's dubious whether or not that Hunter would have survived or tied that particular matchup.
Absolutely, and given that there's a Dusclops back here, just navigating the game to shield advantage is going to be beneficial for Hydra.
Yeah, and so the thing about this matchup right now, Alolan Marowak definitely wants to land the Shadow Ball, but Mikeachu has Steelix there in the back. So being able to clean up that Alolan Marowak match and have a Steelix paired up against a Gardevoir is going to be a pretty nice spot for Mikeachu to be in. So we'll see how the Marowak plays this out. Going for the Shadow Punch here, just chunking away at this Dusclops. Dusclops shielding here will be pretty nice. Just being able to take this down with a Shadow Punch. And he goes for the Gardevoir, expecting a switch out to Steelix at some point. I guess it wants to go down taking a Shadow Punch out of this Gardevoir. But it'll be interesting to see how he plays it out. I think it's just the right play is to just go to Steelix. I'm surprised he hasn't done it already.
Yeah, that was definitely delayed. Which Thunderfang? It's our first Thunderfang Steelix.
Thunderfang is better in this situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Being double resisted there, right? And so this Steelix is going to be able to take out the Alolan Marowak with a crunch, and that is
and that's game one.
So yeah, you're right. Steelix there was really, really clutch. I mean, the only situation where Steelix would have had problems was being paired up with that Alolan Marowak with Fire Spin, and then maybe that Gardevoir getting a Shadow Ball on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dusclops.
But we saw, I mean, not having Dragon Tail tends to be the preferred move there, but having something that Gardevoir doesn't resist coming out of Steelix really prevented them from getting to a charge move, which may have shifted this game in their favor.
So they might be having
So
some
it looks
mild...
like we're gonna get our game 2 coming shortly with Mikeachu up. See what they opt to lock in. They're still looking at that same line from last time.
Mikeachu just considering the same lineup straight up, no changes.
Well, it's sort of a tried and true strategy to sort of ask your opponent to beat you with your line. You know, why would you make the change if they haven't even demonstrated they can beat that initial line?
Right. Now, that being said, you make a couple adjustments and then you can just hard counter that line
Mm-hmm.
if necessary. But it looks like we are going to be seeing some couple adjustments
Mm-hmm.
on both sides here.
I love this part, just watching them sort of think through their lines. So we've got a Steelix lead from Mikeachu. Looks like they're both still kind of committed to this double ghost line, but we're going to see Steelix versus that Fire Spin AWAC in the lead.
Mm-hmm. So this is exactly where you want to be. If you're bringing 2 ghosts and your Alolan Marowak is paired to Steelix there in the lead, is not the worst spot to be in.
Absolutely.
Because it kind of throttles the Steelix, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he ended up bringing a Gardevoir there. So Dusclops switching over against this Marowak. Marowak going for the Shadow Ball here is quite interesting. I feel like you almost want to conserve that energy, flip to something that goes a little bit better, like perhaps that Haunter is interesting too, because it's going to have to really do. Jeez, that's rough, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to shield basically anything that comes in against Haunter. That's
anything super
just
effective.
not going to. I don't know. That's a recipe for success there.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised about 2 things. I'm surprised that he didn't bring out Steelix against this Dusclops. Even with energy, it's a much more favorable matchup. And then I'm also surprised that he didn't shield that Shadow Punch. I guess he thought that maybe he could tank it much better and conserve those shields. That's a very, very risky play for our Haunter user.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no reason to bring Haunter into the battle, I don't think, unless you're pot committed shield. And that was the thing about throwing that charge move out with the Marowak, is it did put the game in sort of a shield advantage situation.
And so Steelix having
if he gets to this Earthquake, he still has the shield. I mean, the Earthquake will kill from here, so
absolutely. Steelix landing this Earthquake is definitely going to take out the Alolan Marowak, but he has to contend with the Dusclops and another matchup since Mikeachu still has 3 Pokemon left. So it's nice that he's going to be able to land this Earthquake, take out the Marowak, have a little bit of energy left for the next matchup, but with Steelix Dusclops there, I don't know how he survives this, right? He's tapping furiously, trying to get to that Earthquake, maybe relying on his opponent over farming there, but it just wasn't enough. Mikeachu is keeping well track of the energy. Crunch is going to take out this Steelix, and with Alolan Marowak there in the back, it would have been nice to have just a little bit more energy.
Yeah, looks like we're seeing a little bit of lag here, but...
And so no big deal. This Steelix is just going to go for the Crunch, hopefully before the Shadow Ball, and he's committing there. I think
he's going to... I think you survive this Shadow Ball and get to Earthquake, but it's going to be really, really close.
Yeah. So Shadow Ball doing a ton of damage, but he is able to get to that Earthquake in spite of the Fire aggregate damage.
Yeah, it's that sort of oddball too with Thunder Fang and Fire Spin, where like all my instincts about how that matchup plays out are kind of funky, because those are the 2 movesets that I haven't played with, so all my timing is a little off. But that was very close. We see Mikeachu pick up the second game and the match, but I think we'll see a game 3 here between these 2 players and their triple ghost teams in this showdown. Ooh, come on, Mikeachu. Keep it alive. Keep it alive with triple ghost. Ooh, we see it. Okay, it's locked. 100% win rate for triple ghost so far.
I'm really liking the look of Haunter, to be honest, in this meta. I mean, top players are... It takes practice to learn how to use Haunter well, but...
Oh, he dropped the Steelix against triple ghost.
Yikes. All right, Haunter paired up against Alolan Marowak, this is a great matchup for Haunter to be in. Just straight up spam
Mhm.
those Shadow Claw and Shadow Punches. The thing is, though, Haunter is up against a Fire Spin Marowak, and Fire
Mhm.
Spin Marowak is just not that great in this particular
It'll
match.
definitely put some damage on, but it doesn't get to those bone clubs all that fast. I mean, Haunter has to shield bone clubs. Unfortunately, Haunter is just that glassy, but it still gets to shadow punches faster, which and is going to be able to farm down, I think, that matchup and come out with a bunch of energy and shield advantage, which is just a brutal place to be. It
Oh
looks
my
like.
goodness. This is going to be very interesting, you guys. He goes for the Shadow Punch. Obviously, Haunter still has to shield this,
Mhm.
and he's really relying on that energy advantage for the next matchup. And against the other two ghosts, it's not the worst spot to be in. He's just going to spam those Shadow Punches. Dusclops foregoing the shield here, and we'll see just how much damage his Haunter is going to be able to do. Almost half HP there. Dusclops is not looking in a great spot, but he is going to force that last shield of the match, and we'll see whether Haunter is going to want to farm this Dusclops down, and he instead goes for the Shadow Punch, maybe applying that last bit of shield pressure. Mikeachu not going for it. He lets his Dusclops go, and he has a Lowland Marowak there in the back with no shields. Fire Spin AWAC is not the best for this particular matchup. He really wants that energy gain, and Poliwrath furiously spamming to get to that 100 pump, and it's just not enough.
No, we're gonna see, because he's got the shield. We're gonna see those two. We're gonna see a Shadow Ball and a Bone Club come out before a Hydro Bump can land. I think Hydro might have needed to go for a bait there just to give himself a potential out.
Well, if he had been able to land the Hydro Pump, he would have been in a great spot.
Well,
Right?
yeah, I mean that's a one-shot kill, but with the shield still in play, I think that I don't think you're gonna land that there.
And so Lowland Marowak going for the bait. There's no shields left in this match. If Haunter's able to get to that Shadow Punch, which it's not, it would have been a different story.
Oh, GG's. We see 3 games there for Mikeachu, our 4th triple ghost win on stream as well.
Katie's going to come on, and she'll be telling us status on the tournament. Katie, over to you.
Hey guys, so just wanted to give a quick bit of information. So Mikeachu is one of the better battlers from the Dayton area, and it is not often that we see Hydro go down once, let alone 3 times in a row. So we're very interested in seeing who winds up being pulled up against Mikeachu next.
Yeah, I mean, is Dhoybuckeye a local player for you, or did he move recently?
To be honest, today I have seen a lot of new faces that I have not seen previously. So I do not know much about Dhoybuckeye at the moment, but I will probably find out. What was that?
It'd be interesting if he's visiting.
Oh, it looks like, so we just had round 4 update, and it looks like we have JakeDoesHurdles, the guy who shoutcasted the last tournament, coming up for the next round
against Mikeachu.
Awesome. So we're gonna watch him and Mikeachu duke it out.
Correct.
Awesome. Well, let's take a look at what Jake is doing. We've obviously seen Mikeachu already. We know he's got sort of triple ghost up his sleeve.
I see the team, Ken, and it's Spice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple things going on here that at least in my book would discourage that triple ghost line, including that Bastodon we talked about, who can really just run through almost any number of ghosts, and as well as a Primeape who starts to threaten with Night Slash. Like you have to be aware of it, and Primeape can force shields on ghosts where no other fighter might. So really interested to see how those 2 Pokemon factor into Jake's plan.
It is kind of like a doubling up of categories, right? We got the double fighter, the double ghost, and the double insane tanks, right? But Bastodon and Cresselia just acting as a shield in many situations, or
Mhm.
two. They're able to absorb, things like Hydro Pump on Polyrath.
Right.
Do just so much damage. Cresselia can tank a Hydro Pump, no problem. Bastion being able to tank Shadow Ball from Haunter, which is kind of like that signature closing move. So it's very
Yeah.
interesting to see how they come into play, and if we even see the triple ghost that you're such a big fan of.
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting there is that Jake has foregone the Steelix that seems to be so ubiquitous on everybody's teams, and I think that's kind of an interesting choice. Obviously, I'm sure that the Bastiodon will do many of that work, but Mike Steelix has some interesting matchups in that it especially can sort of cover all the ghosts and the Cresselia really effectively. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a game of sort of eliminate the fighter on Mikeachu's side, either via sack swap or trying to catch it in a lead, and then letting his Steelix run wild over the rest of the team.
Yeah, and what is interesting is that both of those picks that we were talking about, those tanks, do really poorly against Steelix specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think Steelix can take down one after another.
It depends a lot on the energy and shielding situation. But the Steelix is absolutely favored in most of those matchups. Even sometimes at a shield deficit, as long as it has a little bit of an energy advantage. So wouldn't be surprised to see the Steelix feature prominently for Mikeachu. All right, looks like we're almost ready for our battle. Let's see what these players think about the matchups.
Well, we're gonna find out really soon.
Well, you don't want to play by play them scanning the codes.
Play by play scanning the code. How do you explain?
He's lining it up. I see a little bit of glare though. That could be a problem.
Well, Haunter and Dusclops there in the front and a Primeape in the back, so we might actually get to see that Primeape in action.
Looks like we are.
That sort of classic triple ghost, double ghost with Steelix lineup, which is what we've been seeing a lot from Mikeachu. Maybe some adjustments last minute. Polyrath there in the middle. Certainly Polyrath with Bubble and Ice Punch has a decent matchup against Ghost if it's in that position, but not the most amazing against those particular three. And then against Primeape, it also struggles a little bit. All right. So Lowland Marowak with Haunter. Jake is in a favorable position here. He just goes for the Shadow Punches and Shadow Claw. It's going to charge up much faster. And that Fire Spin Marowak isn't doing a whole lot. It's going to force that shield on the Haunter when he gets to the Bone Club, but it's also going to be forcing shields from the Shadow Punches. Yeah,
at the end of the day, you're not gonna win this fight. So you either need to get tricky with it, like, or try and make a tricksy swap here and see if you can catch that Haunter before it reacts properly.
And so Lowland Marowak almost at that Bone Club there. He's not able to get it before the Shadow Punch, forcing the last shield. And Haunter even foregoing those bubbles there. It looks like Lowland Marowak going for the Shadow Ball.
Shadow Ball?
Bit of an overkill.
A little bit.
And we're getting a little call mid-match. Seems like it didn't affect anything, though. The thing about this is normally you'd be in a very favorable position being up a shield and a lot of energy, but if there's anything that doesn't have a whole lot of closing power, that's Dusclops, right?
Right.
So he's going to be able to win whatever comes out here at a shield advantage, a lot of HP. But Dusclops doesn't really have that punch, even though it has two different types of punches.
It has literally two punches, one for each hand.
It really doesn't pack the kind of punch that we need in the closing.
Yeah, and Primeape is starting to look pretty good here. especially it does pretty well against. Obviously, it's great against Steelix. It does pretty well against Poliwrath as well, depending on the Poliwrath moveset, which will be really interesting to see. I can't recall it from the last from our last go around.
And so Poliwrath switching in, getting counter switched to a Primeape, which is going to do fine against.
Yeah, this Ice Punch actually is not really going to do a whole heck of a lot there.
So Primeape doing cross
just
chop,
get to see these cross chops come out for the
very
Poliwrath.
quickly, doing a decent amount of damage against this Poliwrath. It's very similar, in fact, to the amount of damage that Ice Punch is going to do, which is going to be able to take out that Primeape, and then Poliwrath paired up against our Dusclops with a ton of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think Dusclops here is going to try to farm him down? Oh no, he does go for the Shadow Punch there. Takes out the Poliwrath, and now we're back to where we were earlier with that Steelix there. A decent amount of HP, but I don't think Steelix is going to be able to come out of this, mainly because he had just expended the energy of for a crunch. And now we have Fire Punch and ready to go, and we're going to be able to get that Shadow Punch to finish up this Steelix. I highly, highly doubt we're going to be able to get it to a crunch in time to take out this Dusclops. And sure enough,
well, he got to a Shadow Punch first, so it's moot.
I don't think it would have been necessary even to do this.
Well, that's a downside to Thunderfang, right? The energy generation is not quite as good. With Dragon Tail, you may have gotten to a crunch there, if I remember correctly.
Very well played.
That said, Thunderfang, the Fangs have the absolute superior attack animation, though. I love the Fang animations. They are something else.
The trade-off is, I mean, Thunderfang doing much better against Poliwrath, for example. A lot of unsuspecting Poliwrath users switch in against Steelix, and so you're like, okay, well, you're just doing a lot of damage with the fast move.
Yep.
And then against Empoleon, it also helps as well.
Absolutely, yeah. There's definitely it feels very similar to me to the let's see what teams we've got. We're gonna have a Haunter Mirror in the lead. Ooh, or a lead Cresselia.
This is gonna be interesting.
I mean, triple ghost. I see you looking at it. Mikeachu.
Is considering the gears are turning.
Yep.
But it is quite risky against like a Bastiodon. Looks like Bastiodon is there for bench pressure, which it's certainly becoming a factor. And he is considering that Bastiodon is looking like he's just tossing and turning over what 3 JakeDoesHurdles is going to bring against Mikeachu.
All right, we've got one team locked. We're going to see the Primeape again, it looks like. I'm kind of excited for this monkey business.
You know what Mikeachu locked in with?
Yep.
It's really the difference between whether Mikeachu has Poliwrath or, what am I thinking about? Another ghost there in the back.
Right. We'll get a peek there in a second. They locked in before we got a good look at their team. But once again, we see sort of Haunter favored in one of these sort of ghost mirror matches just on the strength of Shadow Claw and Shadow Punch spamminess.
And so this Dusclops is opting to farm quite a lot here, and he is going to be forced to use the last shield if he doesn't want all that energy to go to waste. That Shadow Punch is within knockout range, though. I suspect he's going to tap right into it, and he does. Taps right into that Shadow Punch. It is going to be enough to take out this Haunter, and he knows that Haunter's just going to shield anyway, so you might as well just go right to it. Steelix switching in.
Ooh, he snuck that Steelix in. He's just going to be able to ignore the Shadow Punch.
That was really nice on the Steelix user. However,
this isn't going to work out for him.
Being paired up against Primeape is not great. Not great at all. So this is a situation where he really is happy that he brought his Primeape as opposed to bringing the Bastiodon. So
Absolutely.
Primeape is chunking away at the Steelix. It's going to be able to tank the crunch.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna smart, but it's not gonna be enough.
Yeah. So Primeape is in the red now. Cross Chop is going to be enough. He farms a little bit more, not wanting to take too many more Dragon Tails from the Steelix. And he has a little bit of energy for the next matchup.
Yeah,
Steelix
I think he's really hoping to get to that Night Slash before he gets fainted down, but I think it's gonna be pretty tight now. Not even close. I was optimistic.
Not enough. Dusclops with a little bit of energy against Haunter. This is, well,
Oof.
one of the situations where a Shadow Punch is going to do a ton of damage, right? Haunter barely hanging on
survives it though, because you get the punch off. He does.
And now he gets the Shadow Punch off. I think Dusclops might just survive this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Survives that Shadow Punch. A switch from Haunter out to his own Dusclops. He's going to be able to, if not barely tank this Shadow Punch, he's going to be able to take it out. Oh, barely.
Oh,
that would have paid off so
Jim.
nicely if he would able to get to that Shadow Punch.
Yeah.
That was his only win situation.
Absolutely, because otherwise, yeah, the Dusclops faints him down with energy and then hits the next thing with a Shadow Punch. So that definitely would have not worked out for him.
That was really close.
Was that our? That's a win for each side. Yeah, yeah. We have one win for each side. We're going into game number 3. I think we're going to see that Bastiodon finally. Looks like he's considering having it make an appearance.
Wow, Bastiodon in the lead too. It's just so bold.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen Driftblim players specifically love to lead their drifts. So Basti leads can sometimes be very, very good. But I don't know about it here.
So he's going for a Primeape.
All right, we're gonna see a little more Primeape action in our first Bastiodon of the day.
Yeah. To be honest, I haven't been that impressed with Primeape in scrims or in matches or anything, but Primeape is not going to do great here in this particular matchup.
No, absolutely not.
We are expecting a switch out, and Bastiodon comes in strong against this Alolan Marowak, which is going to be able to do a decent amount of super effective damage with Bone Club. But Bastiodon being so tanky is going to be able to take a Bone Club just fine.
Yeah, but you've got this Poliwrath here, and this is one of the matchups in this meta that really dissuades me from wanting to bring a Bastiodon. This matchup feels terrible. Poly doesn't really have to shield anything you do, and can just absolutely farm you.
Yeah.
And if he's on the Power Up Punch variant, he's just going to be able to get super boosted here.
Yeah.
And really put a dent in anything that comes out after. Oh, it's Dynamic Punch, all right.
He opts for the Dynamic Punch set, which obviously does really, really well. Bastiodon, that's the smart play, I think, is just not shielding that.
Absolutely. There's no reason to burn a shield there on that losing matchup.
Now, Poliwrath going for the Ice Punch here, which does just about the same amount of damage as that Cross Chop does. Primeape trying to farm this matchup down. He doesn't want to use another shield, so he really wants to put shield pressure on this Poliwrath. So he goes for the Cross Chop, knowing that it's going to be shielded anyway. Poliwrath, furiously tapping at that Ice Punch. And so
I feel like there's a lot of bubbles being missed on Jake's side.
I think he just knows that it's enough.
It isn't though.
To swipe a few.
No, it didn't kill the Poly.
Well, the Poliwrath shielded.
Oh, I didn't see the shield there.
Yeah. The Poliwrath shielded, and so now Dusclops versus Dusclops shields down. This is gonna be just racing to the charge move. Did you catch who had more energy going into this?
No, not quite, but I think it's pretty close to parity at this point. We'll get a look here. Yeah, they're basically right on. We'll see if either of them can manage to piggyback. I mean, that looked like a potential piggyback there for Jake, which will give him a little bit of a lead here.
Yeah, I was looking at the HP relative to the position of the eyeball of the Dusclops. But man, it's gonna be so close, and yeah, this is just gonna be down to the wire. It looks
like be very, very tight. A race to the finish here.
Yeah.
Let's see if either of them can. I don't think we're gonna get a move. I think we're just gonna get a feint down.
Oh, wow. JakeDoesHurdles coming in with that last Shadow Punch, taking out Mikeachu's Dusclops. I mean, this is as close as it gets, right? Oh, wait. He had a Alolan Marowak left?
Is it entire Alolan Marowak? All right, well, we were really trying to sell the drama.
How did we both miss the fact
I don't know. We're like, we missed a full health Alolan Marowak. We're like, oh, look how close this is. Oh, yeah. There's also full health Alolan Marowak.
that was a blunder on our side. I can't believe you didn't catch the, because I started saying that. I started saying, yeah, it's just Dusclops there in the back. And
yeah, we both just totally whiffed on the Alolan Marowak.
What a goof.
Oh, GG's. Looks like Mikeachu picks up another win on their way through this tournament. So very well played. All right, we've still got plenty of matches to be played in round 4 here. So we're going to be hanging out, waiting for our next round to go live. Wanted to say hi to a few friendly faces in chat. Kachina Mom, Heather, good to see you. Johnny, good to see you. I'm glad that you're hanging out. And wanted to thank Hardly Quinn for gifting a subscription to Cochino Mom.
Got another shout out
to you. Well done.
Saying hello to you, Ken.
Aw.
What's going on?
That's adorable. Yeah. I don't have anything nearly that adorable to show off on stream.
No plushes or anything like that.
I have like a Pokemon. I have like Pokemon pop figures that function appropriately.
Yeah, it looks like we have about 3 matches left.
Yeah.
Before we conclude round 4 here.
Yeah. Why don't we take a 2-minute break here while we get the rest of round 4 settled. I could definitely use another glass of water, and we can come back with our round 5 matchups here in just a moment.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
So and you see them there in the bottom?
Yep.
You might think that you don't have to prepare for one of these tournaments, but it looks like QuinnJai is going full intimidation mode. He's Super Saiyan.
He's taken off the training weights, and he's ready to battle for real now.
Yeah. If he goes for the Spirit Bomb, aka Shadow Ball, it might be a disaster for Mikeachu.
It takes 2 or 3 games to charge it up.
Yeah.
More Dragon Ball Z jokes. More Dragon Ball Z jokes. Let's go.
Too bad he doesn't have any sensu beans to increase his HP.
All right. Well, we get to see QuinnJai versus Mikeachu here. We've seen Mikeachu on a tear. Both of these players again have 3 ghosts in their potential 6. So be curious to see. We've got a Bastiodon as well on QuinnJai's side, which sort of discourages that triple ghost plan, but should be fun to see if we see it again. And Quinn's done us a solid and pulled up both of their teams on his phone, so take a quick peek and see what we're working with here.
Yeah. So Quinn having that Dusclops, Alolan Marowak, Poliwrath, Steelix, and Drifloon, which we've seen a lot, and then Bastiodon, which really, really discourages, as you've been saying, that triple ghost lineup that's so popular lately.
Yeah. And it looks like we're going to see Mikeachu definitely respect that Bastiodon bringing two pretty solid answers to it. We'll see if Quinn had sort of the plan to bring it. It doesn't look like he's going to lean on it in this first game.
He is considering Mikeachu's team, though. So it'll be interesting to see what he ends up bringing. Foregoing the Bastiodon is kind of like pretty nice.
Yeah.
In the sense that you don't.
It's gonna match up well here. I think that double ghost line looks pretty appealing against what Mikeachu's got going on.
Yeah. So we're matched up Dusclops versus Poliwrath. This is a very, very close match. Obviously, Poliwrath does enjoy having Ice Punch for this particular matchup. And we get Mikeachu safe switching over to his own Dusclops, absorbing the Shadow Punch, no problem. However, if QuinnJai wants to stay in here, he will win the matchup just by virtue of having so much energy advantage in this particular matchup. Neither opponent using shields in this particular situation. And it looks like they're both committing just staying in with Dusclops.
I respect QuinnJai's very, very smooth ghost charge move plan. Man with some practice.
I do similar to Mikeachu, just because I don't want the other person seeing the way I am hitting those bubbles. Not being able to tell the difference.
Yeah, looks like neither. I mean, it looks like Mikeachu willing to let it go down. No shields used on either side in that battle, but sort of pays off for Quinn getting one extra charge move in. I just think all that banked energy just to end up back in the exact same matchup isn't necessarily ideal.
I'm surprised we got a shield off.
I know, and we actually just saw that Dusclops gets switched out there, so it is still hanging out, and then a switch into the Steelix, which I'm not super sure what the plan was there. We did get to the Earthquake. Looks like we had a little bit of a charge move tie there.
Yeah, so Steelix landing this Earthquake and getting that shield from Dusclops earlier puts Mikeachu in kind of a precarious situation because those Dragon Tails are going to add up enough to take out the Poliwrath. This is the only situation where Poliwrath is losing this, right? If Steelix lands an Earthquake and is left with very little HP. So now it's the Steelix mirror match. QuinnJai going for that Earthquake right away. It's not enough to one-hit knock out the Mikeachu Steelix, but it goes shielded anyway. And so that is the better spot to be in, right? Shielding that Earthquake, going for the crunch, chipping away at the unshielded Steelix, and hopefully having energy going into the next matchup. But if he's not able to take it down with Dragon Tail, that Earthquake is going to be a serious threat.
He got to that Earthquake. It's the double resisting of Thunderfang that it was not doing any damage there. He gets that other Earthquake off, which doesn't kill, but it absolutely puts a dent. He does still have that Dusclops, but that Dusclops is on its last life. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it sort of used as well, not necessary, but I'm wondering if there was a world where we saw that swapped in there just to eat a charge move.
The only winning scenario was for the Steelix to one-shot the Alolan Marowak with an Earthquake, and then take out the Dusclops that basically had no HP anyway.
Yeah, I think that was the only possible line.
But I don't think, I mean, even at that range, the Alolan Marowak was full health.
Yeah, I mean, Earthquake still ruins its day, but it just didn't end up mattering there at the end.
Shadow Ball Z, a Pokemon Go PvP story we're getting from chat.
Would watch 10 out of 10. Would watch Shadow Ball Z. I'm into that.
Yeah, I think one of the mistakes here was shielding the Shadow Punch on the Poliwrath. Certainly, you end up with more HP out of that matchup, but you would have been way more comfortable in the Steelix matchup,
right?
With the Poliwrath.
Absolutely, because you really just don't want to take an Earthquake, and we saw it there. It just it does plenty of damage. I see Mikeachu. He's sitting on that triple ghost line, but he's opted to hedge and bring the Steelix once again.
And so we are locked in the lead. Mikeachu favorable with that Haunter. Looks like almost every time he's brought that Haunter, he's been in a pretty solid situation. And so Fire Spin, Alolan Marowak is adding up a little bit in damage. just
Mhm.
because Haunter doesn't want to be taking any neutral damage in the fast moves. However, Shadow Punch is going to put a huge dent into that
Oh yeah,
Marowak.
that's a mistake not to shield. I mean, you're gonna come out of this matchup with a shield advantage, but he's gonna be able to feint you down now with Shadow Claws before you get to another Bone Club, I think.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
there you go.
suppose the rationale is that you'd rather be up a shield losing anyway.
Yeah, I think this Haunter is gonna get at least one more. Well, this Shadow Punch, and maybe it's gonna be close to another one before. If you try and farm it, ooh, look how close that was.
Yeah. It was so close that I just respect the idea of trying to go for 2 Shadow Punches as the safer choice.
Mm-hmm.
It just wouldn't have mattered anyway because
Right.
the Shadow Ball would have been shielded anyway.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it didn't matter. But him being able to get to 2 Shadow Punches would have been a different story
Absolutely.
entirely. So now we're locked into 2 Dusclops here, spamming Shadow Punches at each other. This is not the end of the game because we get a Steelix swap. Absorbing that Shadow Punch is really, really nice. QuinnJai being in a pretty good spot. Knows that it isn't a Fire Punch. And so basically tickling that Steelix. And Mikeachu ends up swapping to his Steelix of his own. Basically mirrored teams with the exception of the Alolan Marowak
Right,
Haunter.
and we're here again with the with that Thunderfang. This will be a good no shield from Mikeachu. Not taking very much damage at all from Crunch.
So Mikeachu going
We'll
for
see
the
if
Crunch there.
QuinnJai. Ooh, he gets the bait.
Shield. That is a really nice. Shielding that Crunch is pretty huge. However, now Steelix on QuinnJai's side also goes for the Crunch.
And a lot of crunches being thrown around right now.
Now, although Mikeachu just had to forego that Crunch because he's running Thunderfang, he's not getting nearly as much energy. So he does have to shield here, and he's going to be able to get to that Earthquake. Had that bait situation not gone exactly the way it just did, Mikeachu would have been in a much, much different spot. So
absolutely,
he got, not lucky, but the predictive power of those baits was a huge, huge determining factor.
This is going to get pretty close with Dusclops racing the Crunch here.
And so Dusclops is his last
Pokemon. He's
going to try to farm it down.
Oh, the 1 HP Crunch.
But Mikeachu still had his Dusclops of his own there left. So that was really, really close.
Very, very close at the end.
The situation that QuinnJai wanted to be in, farm down the Steelix, get that Shadow Punch ready, and then I don't think Mikeachu had any Shadow Punches ready, but if he had,
no, I don't think so either.
It would have been a CMP tie.
Yeah, I definitely think like there's a lot of that Steelix mirror. There was a lot of baiting, and I just think QuinnJai, seeing that Mikeachu's on Thunderfang, should have just straight Earthquaked, at least through the first couple, knowing that you're gonna get to those faster, and you had a slight energy advantage already. I think the baits were sort of fancy play syndrome there.
See, the thing that we're looking at Mikeachu throughout the course of the tournament, and we're thinking about his triple ghost lineup. But looking at the other 3 on his team, they're all pretty hard counters to Bastiodon. And so I think that's having a lot of an effect on the team comps that he's getting in response.
Yeah, the bench pressure cannot be understated there, right?
Yeah. Metachamp,
we've not seen QuinnJai bring that Bastiodon once.
Yeah. That's pretty huge. But then Mikeachu is also considering his 3, right? He's considering Bastiodon as a huge threat, so he ends up bringing a couple counters to it. So that's sort of interesting as well. But they are 1-1. This is the round determining result here. Alolan Marowak paired up against Dusclops. This matchup is interesting in the sense that Marowak can go for 2 Shadow Balls if he has Hex, but if he has a Fire Spin, which he does, it really does have to land a successful bait. So in this case, Dusclops is just going straight for Shadow Punches. No prediction there. Alolan Marowak can tank this, but he's going to really have to land that Shadow Ball. If he lands the bait, he's in a much better spot. So he sure does. He's going to be able to force the shield on this Alolan Marowak. He was thinking about switching. This is if it's not within knockout range, it's super close. And it looks like he might just commit to this matchup since he had the shield anyway. And he switches over to his Dusclops. Well, this is interesting.
Yeah, so we can see the Dusclops Mary. He's banked all of that energy on the Marowak. I think he's hoping to bring it back around once the shields go down.
Yeah, that is a pretty common play. Just farm up with your Alolan Marowak, have that Shadow Ball ready to go, and there's really only a couple things in the meta that can tank that Shadow Ball, no problem. And so this is a precarious spot for Mikeachu to be in. He's just going to stay with the Dusclops and spam the Shadow Punches, knowing that he's got a decent amount of energy. He's not going to be able to get to that third, or that. Oh, he does get to that Shadow Punch. I'm surprised.
I think they might have tied there, and Mikeachu gets to fire it off.
So this is a big deal for Mikeachu getting that last Shadow Punch off. He switches over to his own Steelix to
respond. Here we are again. We'll see if QuinnJai just goes for the Earthquakes this time. He's absolutely favored in this matchup, I think, if he just goes straight Earthquake the whole way.
So this is really the only winning scenario for Mikeachu is to forego the shield and go for the crunch.
Yep.
But it looks like QuinnJai has learned from the previous match. And I think he's going to forego the shield here.
Yep.
And he does. And so this is one of the appeals, again, of having that Dragon Tail on Steelix is that mirror match tends to go in your favor. Because now you can just spam that crunch, finish up Mikeachu's Steelix with Dragon Tail. And so now Mikeachu having Poliwrath there to respond to this Steelix, even with a lot of energy.
You got there. This is what you want to see. If he doesn't shield this, the Marowak can just come in and just spam the Bone Clubs.
Now,
I think you save this shield, you come in, you spam Bone Clubs until you get that Poly dead.
What I'm surprised is that Poliwrath went for the Dynamic Punch instead of the Ice Punch here, and hopefully trying to get more energy into the next.
I don't think the Shadow Ball was the right call. I think this is potentially gonna potentially lose him the game. Although, why didn't you? Oh my! Wow, both players ending the match with a shield. Wow.
Yeah, I would have been very interested to see what his rationale was, not shielding a couple of those charge moves.
Yeah, I think that Shadow Ball potentially was the game there. If he had thrown 2 Bone Clubs there, we saw the scenario that should have played out, which was that you get it dead with the second Bone Club, and then the Dusclops doesn't have enough health to take advantage of that shield. So really interesting sort of choice there, and kind of fun to see a game end with shields in play on both sides. That's not common.
Yeah, I'm surprised that QuinnJai didn't go Super Saiyan Blue on him.
I know, right? Super Saiyan level 2. Let's see where we're at in our standings. I know that we must be getting close to our final round coming up. I can already take a look. It looks like, let's see, Dhoy and QuinnJai are going to be our undefeated finalists there. Both of them at 5 wins after this round. So we're going to see an undefeated final for a 6-0 player here in this Columbus Sinister Cup. That's pretty exciting.
Some interesting comments in the chat, sort of breaking down what happened there. And it's possible that as Kaiser is pointing out that Mikeachu might have lost track the amount of HP that he had on his Dusclops.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always a chance, especially because you frequently lose a little extra health when you're switching that maybe you're expecting, just because there's some delay in hitting that button. I know that I had a match, a finals match that recently ended where my opponent was like, "Hey, I expected I had more health," and then he watched the video on my side. It's like, "Oh, you got like 2 extra quick moves in while I was doing the switch." Um, Sometimes it's really easy to think, "Oh, I've got a little bit of buffer there," when you don't. So I'm guessing that's what happened on Mikeachu's side, is he really thought he could take advantage of that shield. If he didn't worry about saving the Polyrath, but I think if he had simply shielded that, he probably would have come out with a win there.
Yeah. And QuinnJai's in a pretty good spot, right? Because he doesn't have to worry about Frieza since it's not eligible due to just being way too high CP for this particular method. And I think with Super Saiyan, he's going to be hard counter Frieza anyway.
So yeah, sort of looking ahead, it looks like our final match is probably going to be QuinnJai, who you just saw, and Dhoybuckeye, who we've not seen yet on stream. I'm gonna take a peek at Dhoy's team and see what we're going to be taking a look at.
I have it up here if I can find it. It is Steelix, Alolan Marowak, Haunter, Cresselia, Drifblim, and Polyrath.
Oh, well, that's got some interesting. It's got some interesting stuff going on there.
Yeah, for sure. And the ability to do that triple ghost that you've been raving about so much.
I've been waiting for it. We haven't seen it since I want to say round number 2, maybe round 3. But so far, triple ghost undefeated on the stream this afternoon. So would love to see some more action there. I love the triple ghost lines, and with Steelix and Poly being your Pokemon there on Dhoy's side, triple ghost looks all right here. We've already talked about how Steelix just isn't enough of a brick wall for the ghosts to dissuade it.
Do you think we'll be able to see more Bastiodon against this particular lineup, having Drifblim, Haunter, Alolan Marowak, and Cresselia? It's 4 of those, and really only Polyrath and Steelix to deal with Bastiodon?
Right. Steelix and Polyrath are kind of a hard combo to cover with a single mon, though. So, sometimes it can be hard to rely on Bastiodon. Although I don't think I hate it potentially in a lead situation here, as it has so many favorable matchups. I think we're getting close to our final round of pairings being up, so we're going to take a look at the standings. Looks like we've got one more matchup that needs to be reported before we get to our 6th and final round, where we get to see 2 undefeated players duke it out for their likely first cup win of the year. So really excited to see that. Glad you all are hanging out with us this afternoon or evening. I know some of you are watching from EU time zones where it's already late in the evening.
AJ, you said that you had battled Dhoy before, or he was in one of your lobbies?
Yeah, Dhoy and I, if I'm remembering that name correctly, and I believe I am, we fought in a tournament in Jacksonville this year.
Well, should be exciting. I guess maybe we'll find out if Dhoy has been traveling for tournaments or is a transplant. I mean, the fact that he's got an Ohio State themed Pokemon Go name seems to suggest to me that Columbus may be a home base for Dhoy, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I believe he did have some Ohio flair.
So what are you? Yeah, no worries. It's all right. We know sometimes things go awry, so we're waiting for one more match to wrap in round number 5 before we get our round 6 and final pairing. AJ, you started working on Ferocious yet?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm out of TMs, and so
Oh,
not being able
no.
to grind out TMs,
Oh.
really putting a wrench, throwing a wrench into this
Yeah, I
whole
mean, for
Ferocious
some of these
practice.
Pokemon, the solution is easy. Just go get another one.
Yeah,
It's easier to find another one than it is to find the TMs.
Yeah. Of course, that also means Stardust. So, yeah, my issue has been I really want Hyper Fang on Bidoof, so it's not a big deal to get another Bidoof.
Yeah, I lucked out and I evolved my Bidoof on stream last time I was live, and it came out with just the right moves. I'm like, cool, no TMs needed. We happy, we done. Can't afford to waste any TMs on Bidoofs.
Yeah. But it looks like we are lined up to finally see these two excellent players go up against each other with a very interesting background on QuinnJai's phone there.
No comment.
No comment indeed.
But I'm ready. I think we're getting them queued up. I know we're preempting the self pairings coming up real quick because with only 2 undefeated players at the top, we assume that we'll be seeing them duking it out in the final. So I know we're getting them set up so that there is no downtime between round 6 pairings coming up and our battle. So we're almost there, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on this Sunday afternoon.
Able to see these folks.
So we're just catching up a little bit with Dhoy while we're waiting for the last round. It sounds like somebody had
Am I
a phone
confusing
call.
him with someone else?
No, you're not. It sounds so Dhoy. Okay, he's talking. Hold on. So it sounds like he just relocated back to Columbus about a month ago. But yeah, he was asking if that was his boy Squawk on stream, so he remembers you.
Yeah. We went to the finals in a Kingdom match, and it was really, really close. And I just remember that.
Well, it'll be very fun to see how just how Super Saiyan Goku goes here. I believe there's other people in costume here at this tournament, but so far we've definitely found our favorite.
Yeah, there are definitely a few other costumes, that's for sure. But
we're gonna have to parade them through parade the other costumes through the stream here before we go.
I'll take a photo and post it on Twitter.
Yes, I'm excited to see.
So what do you expect to see these two players bring against each other? Do you think that Bastiodon is more there for bench pressure, or do you think QuinnJai is going to finally bring it? Hoping to not run against.
We haven't seen it really in play yet, so it'll be interesting to see. Awesome. Dhoy definitely has a little less to threaten the Bastiodon than Mikeachu did in the previous round, so I wouldn't be surprised to see if it makes its way into rotation. But it looks like our round 6 pairings have gone up in the tournament. If you want to see how everyone's doing, exclamation tournament in the chat. But we're going to get our round 6 battles here in just a second. Crown an undefeated champion in this Sinister Cup. So looking forward to it. Sorry also that the light behind my head has started to blind you. If you're keeping an eye on my screen, I'm going to try and make sure my head is in the right place. All right. Ooh, I like that auto rec team.
Very spicy. I was about to say.
Dhoy, you're already speaking my language. No preset teams. Let's go auto rec.
Just go auto rec in the first. It's funny. Were you watching the stream when Taco and I did our first battle?
No, I missed that one.
I said, let's just do some ferocious, and then he said, okay. And then I went off camera, or I went off the stream, and he was like, okay. And he brought 3 Skarmory.
I see a wild J farm appeared in chat. What's up, man? How are you doing? All right, let's see what these players think. We've been talking a lot about their matchups. Let's see if they've got a different sense than we do. We see I did not see what QuinnJai locked in, but it looks like I see double ghost on Dhoy's side. I always worry about these lineups where the only safe swap here to something like a Steelix or a tank would be to switch that poly, and if it gets eliminated, you're gonna be in trouble. So let's see how this lead goes.
It is a fire spin, Marowak,
okay.
so at least there's that.
That makes sense.
So Marowak paired up against this Haunter. Haunter's going to be, as we've been saying, get to those shadow punches much faster than the charge moves on Marowak. And Steelix switching in to absorb this shadow punch is a pretty nice spot for QuinnJai to be in. However, now a counter switch to Poliwrath is definitely not great. So yeah, you expended a little bit of that energy on the Haunter at the expense of being really, really hard countered by this Poliwrath, right? And so shielding that Earthquake was huge. We've seen opponents from QuinnJai foregoing the Earthquake in that foregoing the shield against the Earthquake in that situation. So that was a great read on Buckeye here, not foregoing the shield, just using that shield against the Steelix is pretty nice there. Now we got those ice punches to spam against the Dusclops.
So we're gonna see this poly really do some work here. I think so many of us are used to Metachamp being the only relevant fighter that we forget that the ghosts really aren't that good against Poliwrath. That's kind of what Poliwrath made it so common on every team, was that it's not toothless in these matchups. So lots of really good energy use here, and really putting some pressure. You're behind on shield, so you have to start to put that pressure on, or you're gonna find yourself in a deep hole.
Yeah, and Poliwrath did its job, right? I mean, so long as QuinnJai doesn't have Bastion in the back, he's sort of considering, well, Poliwrath did its job against the Steelix, and so you really don't have to expend shields in a matchup that you're probably going to lose anyway.
Right.
But Hunter getting that Shadow Punch, it is within knockout range of the Dusclops, and we'll see if QuinnJai commits, and he does shield the Shadow Punch. And he really wants to do as much damage as possible to the Haunter before going down. This is obviously within knockout range of the Haunter. Dhoybuckeye there for going the shield. And it does let that Haunter go down. Even shields, having that Alolan Marowak with a little bit of energy, but not near as much energy as
and they're both on fire spin. This is going to come down to some baits, I think. And whether or not... Oh, he didn't take it. Oh!
Ouch. Yeah, that really, really hurt, right? Now, what's interesting is that they're both, in a sense, getting their bait in, but QuinnJai getting in that...
I don't know if the fire spin's not good enough. This would be really interesting to see if this KOs from here. It's going to be very close. No, not enough. And there we go. Not respecting that shadow ball absolutely cost Dhoy in that final mirror match there. Somebody was watching a little too much of yesterday's London's Finest, like, oh, there's no way, he's definitely baiting. It doesn't always pay off to not shield that.
Yeah, it was so huge. Being able to, or not shielding that shadow ball was huge. I mean, it would have been super, super close otherwise.
Yeah. We had a mirror match. Neither of them really threatening each other with first. And I'm gonna also tweak my camera real quick because I'm realizing now that I need to adjust so that I'm not blinding everybody. All right, there we go.
And it looks like Dhoy
really that should be slightly better.
Doesn't want to be.
Let's get our game 2 on. QuinnJai up 1.
Okay. QuinnJai up against this.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. We've seen this matchup a lot today. I feel like this is the lead. It has been the lead in almost every match we've seen.
Hey, can you hear me okay? Hello?
We hear you, yeah. Oh, did we lose AJ again? I don't currently hear AJ. Okay. We're seeing sort of the conclusion of this this Haunter Marowak matchup. And we get to see the Bubble Wrath come in and do what it's meant to do. Trying to figure out, let's see. So Polyrath player still has a shield, that advantage, hopefully be able to parlay into something good here. Not a great matchup for either player, but with a shield advantage, I expect Polyrath can come through this. The only concern you have to have is if that Steelix is left, or one of the tanks is left behind, that this Polyrath has more work to be done. But if we see this Polyrath go down, I think that there could be. I'm pretty sure Dhoy has that. Sorry, I'm getting my players all mixed up. I'm pretty sure Quinn still has that Steelix hanging out back there. So
yeah, and so
we'll see how this plays out. That shield sort of
shadow
being held there
against this Polyrath.
Yeah,
that is doing a decent amount of damage with those ice punches against Dusclops.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be super down to the wire against these two. But Dusclops getting in that last shadow punch, putting the shield pressure, or just winning the match outright against the Polyrath there.
We get to see Steelix and Marowak with that one shield. This is actually lining up okay. Dhoy is just not respecting any of these moves. Just absolutely refusing to shield the first charge move. An earthquake there would have been GG's.
And so landing that shadow ball is really, really nice. Being able to take it down with fire spins or just go for the bone club, certainly within knockout range of the Steelix with basically 1 HP.
Absolutely.
And QuinnJai having to face this Dusclops with no HP and taking the win right there.
All right. Well,
I think you guys can hear me, but I'm not sure if Ken can hear me.
I can hear you now, AJ.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yeah. You dropped out. You dropped out for a little bit, I think, from all of us. But either way, we've got you back for this game 3, this deciding game in this tournament. Both these players 5-0 in our final round. The winner of this game is going to take it all. Let's see. Let's see if you can do it. If you've got a favorite in chat, let us know. We'd love to know who you're rooting for in this final deciding match of our tournament today.
Who are you two rooting for?
I mean, I can't not root for QuinnJai, right? Like, he's Goku, dude. Like, how do you not root for QuinnJai? I mean, no disrespect to Dhoy. I mean, he does have dubious taste in college football teams, but you know, that Super Saiyan costume is just too good.
How about you, AJ?
Well, it's the first time we're seeing Dhoy on screen, but I've had the pleasure to meet him in person, and not just a great player, but also just a great person. We hung out after that, and he's very humble, and so I'm rooting for him just because he's the only person I've met in this tournament, and it's just great to see the community being so small and yet so spread out.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, we get to see Double Ghost. I didn't see what Quinn locked in, but we get to see Polyrath and Double Ghost on Dhoy's side unless he makes an adjustment here.
We did have a few players who traveled pretty far today to get here.
Okay,
all
so
right,
we
let's go.
are locked in there in the lead. Polyrath against a Fire Spin Alolan Marowak. Not a great spot for the Marowak to be in here. So insta switch to Dusclops as the safe switch. Polyrath racking up that energy. He's going for the Ice Punches or the switch out. Not expecting a shield here from Dhoybuckeye and just absorbing the damage from that Shadow Punch, which, as we've talked about, is not a very great closing move. So he does switch out to the Haunter. Better to be in a position where that Dusclops doesn't have a super amount of energy. And so he does end up forcing that shield on Buckeye and getting that Shadow Punch in before the Dusclops gets to its third Shadow Punch.
Yeah,
Forcing the shield on Dusclops. So
that Polyrath seems like it's going to be real important as this matchup sort of winds down. So it'll be really interesting to see what sort of scenario we finish this in. Ooh, two shields on the Haunter.
So we've seen in previous matches where Dhoybuckeye forgoes shields in many situations. Whereas here he just commits to this matchup and really wants to take out that Dusclops and have the switch advantage since he's got a Polyrath with so much energy. And he really wants to commit to this. So he does get to the Shadow Punch, and it's going to be pretty huge whether QuinnJai reads the energy and shields the potential. Sure, he just straight up tanks that Shadow Punch, no problem. And so he does take out that
was a great call.
Haunter without having to use a shield. And so here, if he wants to survive this dynamic punch, he's going to have to shield, which he does.
He's going to get to that Earthquake.
He's going to be able to charge to the Earthquake, take out the Polyrath, and be in a pretty solid spot.
Yeah, this is what I was worried about. That Polyrath seemed really essential, and you need shields on it just to make sure that you don't lose in this matchup. But he should be able to. Okay, yeah, wise choice going for the crunch. I think he knew he was in Bone Club range, and trying to get to that Earthquake would have been very greedy here.
So Marowak farming this up, no reason to expend any energy on the Steelix. And we're getting a little bit of delay there, but we go straight for the Shadow Ball. This is going to be, wow. I mean, this Alolan Marowak on Dhoybuckeye's side.
And the race to the Bone Club is on, and it looks like Dhoy gets it.
Yeah.
Just one quick move faster.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Wow.
And he was able to take it out with Bone Club, and that is GG.
There we go. Dhoybuckeye with the win. Taking the match 2-1. Wow. Very well done. That was very close. Very well played at the end there. Banking that extra energy against Steelix. That Fire Spin came in clutch, allowing him safely to farm down and have that extra energy for the that final sort of mirror match.
Yeah, very well played on both sides for sure. So, Katie, are you Are you able to get any audio from these players and maybe
Oh,
give
would
a
you
few
like
thoughts on
to?
them and their team comp? Maybe talk to Dhoy?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
it'd be nice to
yeah.
talk to Dhoy.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get him over here. Just one moment.
Sure.
All right, we got Dhoy coming on with us.
So for those of you not knowing what's going on, I'm actually not sure what they're able to hear, but they should be able to hear.
Yeah, I can hear.
See,
It's a little low, but I can hear.
There we go. How's it
There we
going, man?
go.
How you guys doing? I don't see you.
That's okay.
I see us.
That's totally all right.
How you guys doing?
Small
Doing
world.
well. Congrats on the win.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
AJ,
Appreciate it.
you still with us?
AJ.
Yeah, man. Small
AJ?
world. I was like, when I saw your name, I was like, wait a second. That looks so familiar.
All right.
Yeah, you're
well-
probably like, why is he playing in Ohio? Like I played him in Jax. Like who is this?
So yeah, it sounds like you recently relocated back to Columbus.
No, I'm in Cleveland, but I came down for this. I actually came down. I was telling them before we started here, the last match, I came down yesterday for the Ohio State game. They playing Wisconsin at home, and I haven't been to a home game in a couple years since I've been graduated for like 5-6 years. So came for the game, went back home to Cleveland, then came back here today instead of watching the Browns, which was a fantastic decision because they're getting spanked. So
Hey, well, at least if you went to that Ohio State game, you got.
Oh, yeah.
You got.
it was awesome. That was great to see.
Yeah, congrats again. What sort of obviously you took down this tournament. What have you liked? What was your plan going into the tournament today?
I had been scrimming with a lot of this. I mean, I've still best friends with all those people in Jacksonville that I was playing with that AJ knows from the tournament he was down there for. Just been scrimming against them, and I kind of had been running, like, first match when I played people, I kept running Poly, Marowak, and Drifblim, and kind of quickly realized a couple rounds in. I mean, I was barely skating by most of these matches here. I didn't even win one 3-0 match wise until like the semifinals here. So plan going in changed, and quickly realized that people were really underestimating the Shadow Ball Haunter. So that had to be a staple pretty much every match from midway on. So it was good to like improvise like that, and still worked out. So
Yeah, we saw a lot of Shadow Ball Haunter versus Marowak matches, which obviously all sort of favored the Haunter, at least.
Yeah.
On paper. So that's awesome. Do you have a favorite moment or an opponent that you were just absolutely like, I can't believe I beat that person?
it had to be Powerful Ping, which does he run your guys' Discord server? I heard like before we were playing, he was talking to somebody. It sounded like he's okay. I was playing him round, I think 4, and he had the slow bro, and I'm like, oh crap, I haven't screamed against the slow bro at all. He didn't bring it the first match, which I was fortunate about, but fortunate to see. But second match he brought it, and I brought Shadow Ball Haunter, so obviously that didn't go well. And kind of changed everything up. The only time I used Steelix was game 3 against him, because I was like, well, I have almost nothing to counter this slow bro. I need to bring that Steelix and keep him at the end so I can, save it for some crunches, because he's not going to be doing a whole lot of damage to me. And just kind of lucked out with it. I guess I think I got with a Shadow Ball on my Marowak instead, so I didn't really need it. So I was, and then he brought Bastodon at the end, so I actually got to use the Earthquake Steelix to get rid of the Bastodon, so that was good. But yeah, that was probably my favorite match. We went 1-1, and then I won the third one, but it was tight. Every one of those was tight. I mean, everybody I played 2-legged horse in the first round, 3 rounds, and pretty much last hit for each of us, and yeah, pretty much every round was tight. So I was kind of glad to eke these out.
Yeah, we're coming up obviously on the end of the format, but thinking about your team again, was there anything on your team that you just felt like didn't really pull its weight? Was there anything you just sort of left on the bed?
I mean, for what everyone was throwing at me, I didn't think Steelix was going to be very useful until that one time I used him. But obviously, he's still he's still on almost everybody's team. But like Driflin was always going to be my closer when I was scrimming. He was always the third one I brought in. So Driflin didn't end up being as useful as I thought. You know, you see a lot of polys. You're not sure if they're going to have Ice Punch on it or what moveset they're going to bring. So kind of turned out to be a little bit weaker once we started going than I originally anticipated. But it was, for the most part, it was according to plan besides the drift blend, but definitely didn't use it as much as I thought it would.
That's rad. Have you have you had any time to think about Ferocious yet? Or are you
Not at all. No, I had a couple people last night on our Discord ask me about it. I was like, sorry guys, like I went through one of the nights and kind of looked where I had rank wise on the IV checks and just kind of put where they were and see what I need to go for the rest of this event. See if I can go for anything else in the wild. But no, I have not even. I don't think I've purchased a second move on almost anything that's going to be used. So it'll be interesting.
Well, the good news is now that Sinister's behind you with that 6-0, you'll be able to enjoy sort of like thinking about it in the vacuum. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know where I'm going to play it because I know that in my hometown or really near Cleveland, I'm about a half hour from Cleveland. The nearest tournament's in Akron. That's a good 45, 50-minute drive. So, I mean, if we keep having like this many people down here in Columbus, I'll definitely be coming down here. I'll gladly drive another hour. You heard my story about driving all over the place the last 2 days, so I don't really care about the drive too much. So if there's going to be a lot of people here, it's pretty cool. I was surprised how fast it went. When we hold them at the bars in Jacksonville, they take ages because everyone's drinking and just taking their good old time. AJ can probably speak on that one. I mean, we had a 5-round tournament that I think went 2.5 hours. So yeah, it was good though. It's good.
I mean, I won't say anything bad about hosting a PvP tournament in a bar. That is my preference.
Yeah, it was good. They just got a Pokestop down there too. So shout out to Jack's Raid Squad. They're
awesome.
They're great people down there. So.
Well, again, congratulations on your 6-0.
Thank you.
And best of luck in your future tournaments.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, cheers. All right, let's get our host back up in here, and let's see if we've got anything else we want to get to. Hey, how's it going?
Not too much. How are you?
We're good. I think we lost AJ. He said his daughter unplugged his Ethernet cable.
Oh no.
So I think he's disappeared off the face of the earth.
Oh my. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and thank you for shoutcasting and sticking with me here.
Of course, my pleasure.
Yeah, it's great to have you. All right, well, we're shutting the stream down. So once again, thank you all for tuning in. I'm Miss Mystic. Please like and subscribe, all the things. We'll be doing our Ferocious Cup in the same location next month on the 23rd for sure. And we might be doing another tournament on the 16th. So have a good day, guys.
Yeah, good to see you all. Thanks
Good
for all the
to see
enthusiasm
you.
and chat. Bye-bye.
Bye.